Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Dallas-Fort Worth Convention Center. We're here for the calling, and I'm Ken and Grace, and this is Red Zone Rogue. It's nice to see you today, buddy.
It is nice to see you. It is a great day for Flesh and Blood. I think we've had some very exciting matches so far.
We've had some really quick ones. Y'all got to call a little bit of a longer couple matches than I
Yeah.
did. Our round ones felt like they were over on turn 2 or turn 3 every game, and I know you've been
they were.
Yeah, I know you've been saying that like these games have been really fast, but one thing that you've been wanting to see that we haven't got to see yet, so maybe some people at home want to see is you want to see some Oldham.
I do want to see some Oldham. We've seen a lot of Briar, and that's to be expected, right? I think that's what a lot of people thought, right? We would see a lot of Briar coming in, but I think Oldham shouldn't be discounted, and I want to see some Oldham. I want to see some, big old 10 attack dominates.
Yeah.
I want to see it. So I would love to see some Oldham. I'd also love to see more Lexi too. I just want to see some. I want to see some other stuff. So I think that's something we could see going into this, and I think we could see some of that going into a draft in particular. It's going to be very interesting to see who is at the top tables at the end of this sealed, because once again we talked about this. I think Briar is going to be. Briar is going to be like a good front runner.
I think it's going to be a good front runner, but it's going to cause that problem that you're going to see in some of these drafts where if it is the front runner and everybody wants it, if everyone at the table is drafting it, then the one person who drafts Lexi or that one person who's in the right seat for Oldham is going to have an absurd deck. I know that when I was getting some late night practice in last night with some of the better players here, we had one player at the table draft Lexi, and wow, was that deck good.
I can imagine it being quite spicy.
Yeah, it was everything you could ever want, like all of it. They got the cream of the crop because everything was tabling, everything was going all the way around. We're going to have this matchup for you in just a minute, y'all at home. So we're just going to talk a little bit more before we get to it just for a second. But I got to say, I want to see some more Lexi myself.
Yeah, me too.
Because the Lexis that we've had so far, they were on the draw versus Briar quite a bit. And
that is true.
I got to say this. So I was talking about this earlier. I don't know about you, how you feel about player draw limited. Most of the time, especially leading up to this set, I was always on the draw. I always thought it was an advantage to be on the draw because you get to redraw your hand at the end of their turn as well. So like blocking is great.
Free mulligan almost.
It's free, right? Yeah, it's free cards, right? But in this set, whenever you see your opponents playing Briar or your Briar yourself, especially the Lightning version of Briar, I feel like you're so incentivized to go first.
I think it's a good idea, honestly. I think it is a good idea to go first. And I think that's true for a good number. I think that's true for Briar too, right?
Yeah.
Both Lexi and Briar. It makes it really interesting when you're playing it, right? So you need to look at your hand and be, or well, rather, you need to just think about your deck and be like, does my deck take advantage of that first turn play, right? Do I need to do that, or can I just go second?
Yeah.
One interesting thing about Lexi that I really like is her Shiver, and Shiver can be played as instant, right? So even if you don't go second, you can still activate that Shiver on your opponent's turn and kind of set up for something really sweet.
Yeah, a play we don't see very often, but hey, maybe we'll see it this round because we're going to go down to the match. Here we go, round 3.
It looks like we have another Briar versus Briar match. We have Brendan Patrick versus Timothy Bunn. I think the Briar versus Briar matches are very interesting, actually. You see a lot of counterplay here, and the equipment is going to be so we see something very similar to the last one. We have just one piece of equipment on Brendan's side, just some Cracker Jacks, and then we do have a Deep Blue and some Sutcliffe Suede Hides.
Absolutely. This is a big turn here to start off for Timothy, but I want to talk for a second. I was actually talking with Brendan Patrick in between the rounds. He's very happy to be 2-0 because he wasn't that happy with his seal deck today. He's like, it's fine. I can win some games. I have a decent Briar deck. I really don't like my equipment was the one thing that he said.
I can see that.
I can see why. Now, Cracker Jacks is one that is going to be actually pretty good and could be pretty important in this matchup because this is going to be a lot of back and forth early like we talked about, and it's going to be I find that, and I don't know if this has been your situation, but do you find that whoever gets the most uses out of the embodiment of Earths is kind of, a little ahead of these matchups?
Those embodiment of Earths are so sweet, especially if you can get multiple, like 2 or 3, and then blocking for like 4 or 5 with just one card is such a big deal. It's absolutely such a big deal. So I think this is going to definitely come into play here. We do have Timothy Bunn playing a non-attack. This is going to be a non-attack with Go again. So it does set him up for a turn where he can go like non-attack into an attack into a Rosetta Thorn, which is, once again, we've talked about this. This is kind of where you want to be with Briar. That's a very baseline play. So even if he doesn't get a ton of value out of this card, which is, I think they're talking about whether or not he can get that Electrify back. I think it's going to be very interesting here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brendan Patrick, definitely considered one of the best players in this country in the United States.
Oh, for sure.
Big time content creator. Love his stuff. I got to say, I actually take a peek at his stuff weekly myself.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I'm not watching the Red Zone Rogue
yeah,
channel.
of course. But no, I agree. I actually agree. Absolutely fantastic competitive content.
Yeah, great player as well.
For sure. I mean, that's why we've seen him featured more than a few times, both in this calling and in Vegas. Ooh, we have an Inspire Lightning. This is going to come across for a casual 3, a cash 3.
And this is one that's always kind of scary to me, too. Like, yeah, he is going to reveal a Lightning card here, but that's an Electrify that gets revealed. So,
yes.
You know the next turn is going to be set up for a big one as well.
Yeah, and that's a card you definitely want to Arsenal because, you get that free card draw off of there. You set up for an even bigger turn. And so, I mean, this is kind of where you want to be. 3 damage. I get to Arsenal a really sweet card and set up for something else.
Yeah, really good Arsenal card because it's going to buff your next attack. But when you play it from the Arsenal, it's going to draw you an extra card, too. So kind of like a 6-card hand if there's no blocking going on here. Or it makes it easier for you to block.
Ooh. We have a big pump card. This is a big pump card.
This is the biggest pump card, right? This is one of the biggest ones in the set. This is a red Earthlore Sword, and this is one of the cards.
5.
Yeah, +5. This is one of the cards that I always talk about. Whenever this starts off the turn, I'm like, I'm dead, right?
Yeah, this is scary. This is very, very scary. So no matter what attack he follows it up with, it's gonna be a big one. So he did do non-attack, creating that embodiment of lightning, which will give go again to the next attack action he plays. So I mean, this is definitely setting up for a very, very big turn. +5 and go again, like.
Absolutely,
this is nice.
The first attack from his hand, if it's an attack action, it's going to get that +5.
Exactly,
and he's setting up either for a second attack or maybe that Thorn comes out. And we've been seeing this all day long, the 2+2 from the Thorn, because he's played a non and an attack action. It's really hard to deal with.
Yeah, and he's going big here. He just cracked his Deep Blue. So he cracked the Deep Blue, get that 3 resources, tuck in that card, and he's coming in for what color is this? Is this a red?
That is a red one, yeah.
So it's coming in for what? Baseline?
10, I think, here. So 7, and then 3 from the Surge. Or 5 from the Surge, sorry. 12.
So this is 12 with go again, because it is going to pop that embodiment of lightning.
And since Brendan only did arcane damage turn 1, he doesn't have an embodiment of Earth here, so if he's blocking, he's got to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, this is rough because it also threatens, like we talked about, that Rosetta Thorn because this does have go again. Timothy still has a card in hand. Ooh, big block. I mean, you got it. Like, this is a ton of damage. So he's blocking with a lot. Is going to create that embodiment of Earth on the back end. So he's got 1 embodiment of Earth, setting up for a really good defensive turn, and then following it up with that Rosetta Thorn as expected. That's basically 2 free arcane damage and another little 2. Here's some 2. So Brendan is basically saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to basically trade most of my turn here. I'm going to block with almost all my entire hand and mitigate as much as possible. Brendan still does have that card in Arsenal, still has a card in hand. So, I mean, he does have some plays here, but he gave up a big chunk. So we do see that Electrify coming from Arsenal. It's a blue Electrify, but it still draws him that extra card. Nothing to sneeze at. And then we have a clause here coming in. Is that a red or a yellow? Either way.
It's a yellow clause, so it's going to get a little bit of a buff here, but not a huge attack. But this is the start of possibly a decent-sized turn.
It's still fairly threatening, right? Because it's like, hey, I'm coming in. If you let me hit, it's going to deal a little bit of extra damage. And that once again, nothing to sneeze at. And every single time one of these hits, it is going to create that embodiment of Earth from Briar's ability. So, I mean, hitting twice with this, hitting once and then getting that Electrify trigger will create 2. And, I mean, once again, stacking those is really, really nice. Like, being able to, if your opponent's coming in with a really heavy attack and you're like, hey, I can just block with my 1 non-attack action for like 4 or 5, that's really nice. As a player, I'm like, that's what I like to see. You get some real good value out of that. And so Timothy here is like, okay, well, he's only coming in for this. Do I want to give him that ability to block?
Exactly. This is the hard spot for Timothy, right? Like, he's having to decide, how much do I want to block? Do I want to block? Because, what do I want to do on my next turn as well? And then he knows that every time he doesn't block, this starts to happen. Multiple embodiments of Earth. You're taking some extra damage.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to take it.
It looks like that's going to be it for the Brendan's turn. So a little damage coming over to Timothy's side. Looks like he's down to 17. 2 embodiments of Earth have been made for Brendan Patrick here. So he's starting to kind of take a little bit of the tempo away from the game here. He's got some damage in, and now he's got embodiments of Earth to be able to block a little bit better.
So this card is going to let him pick a card and put it on the bottom of his deck. So it does, does add a little bit of late game value here. It also sets up for a pretty good turn because it's a non-attack with go again into a ball lightning.
And this is the card that we've been talking about this all day, I feel, already. This is a card that always starts to, this turn is going to be big.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of extra damage dealt here. It looks like ball lightning into an attack from Rosetta Thorn.
So yeah, I think this is, I've talked about this before. This is a very classic Briar turn, right? Non-attack, go again. Attack with go again. Rosetta Thorn. It's just very, very simple. These cards are very easy to get in limited and draft. This is where you want to be, right? This is like the I don't want to say optimal tuning, but like this is like minimal tuning to make your Briar deck really pop off. And
these are the lifeblood of the deck. Like,
yeah,
you might get some kind of rare or even more than a rare card that's really good in your deck. But these are the cards. I was talking about this at the beginning of the show.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more worried about getting the right commons in my deck.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because like Ball Lightning is just a common card. So I mean, like if you can get a bunch of them, then your deck can be quite spicy.
And I actually have gotten more and more respect for Ball Lightning all the way down to the 1 power one. Because at first I was like, oh, it's just 1 power, it's not that good. But it's 2 if it hits them.
Exactly.
And then it hits all the rest of your attacks for the turn. And who wants to block a 1 attack card?
It feels so bad,
right? It feels awful.
You're wasting a card from your hand to block it, and yeah, like you said, pumps up all the other cards, all of the other arcane damage. I think Ball Lightning is definitely one of the standout cards of the set for limited, for sure.
It's one of those ones when you read it at first, you don't understand the true power of it, like how important it is. Absolutely. So we see Brendan here blocking with an Electrify, a card that I'm a big fan of. Love cards like this in this set. It's up there with Ball Lightning for me. And then there's a Rosetta Thorn coming in behind from Timothy, and it looks like we've got quite a bit of a tank here for Brendan to decide how much does he want to block here, because he is starting to fall a little bit behind if this gets multiple attacks in, and then he's got to deal with the embodiments of Earth on the other way around. So we are seeing a normal block of the physical damage here.
So yeah, but just block it out, block for 2. He's still going to take the 2 arcane. And I mean, we've seen Brendan's definitely willing to block out stuff. I mean, he blocked quite a bit. Ooh, is he considering cracking the Cracker Jacks?
It does look like that. And so this is Cracker Jacks into a Ball Lightning. This might be a gigantic turn.
This is a 4-attack Ball Lightning coming in, which is, pretty good. Pretty good. 4 attack is a good break point. Honestly, 3 attack is a good break point for Tales of Aria, because the average cost or the average block of a card in this set is around 2-ish, right? It's like 2 and some change. Not a lot of 3 block cards in the set. So coming in for 4 is pretty good. Blocking for 2 cards, blocking enough for 2 cards. I mean, 1 for 2 is just a really good rate, especially with Ball Lightning, because it's a 0 cost with Go again. So he didn't have to spend any resources to put this card out there. And he's just like, hey, here's my Ball Lightning. Anything else I play can get pumped up. Do we know how many cards Brendan has in hand? I mean, either way, this is still a pretty sweet turn. And Timothy's just got to be looking at his hand and being like, okay, Brendan's at 9. I have a full grip. How much do I want to keep in my grip so I can come back and put that pressure on? Because this is something we've talked about, right? We've talked about being able to identify what you need to block with to not die, but then come back and then punch your opponent harder than they punched you. And so that's definitely what Timothy's thinking about here. He's like, hey, what do I need to keep? He's
mapping out this block plus what he has to do for his next turn.
Exactly.
And he's got to think about the range here from Brendan as well, because Brendan has cards left over, and he hasn't even used a resource yet this turn as well. So that's the other thing that I really like about the Lightning decks from Briar is a lot of these good cards cost 0 or 1. So you're not having to pitch cards too often. You get to play with what feels like extra cards.
Yeah, I mean, like 0 cost cards with Go again feels so good in Flesh and Blood. It feels just like absolute gas. And it looks like Timothy's just going to take it. So he's going to take 5. And then following that up with a Lightning Surge coming in for another 4.
And I think this is a Lightning Surge from hand. I don't know if this was from Arsenal. If it's from Arsenal, it does have Go again.
I think it's from hand.
Right.
I think it's from hand. But still, I mean, like, what, this is a turn that's still threatening 9 total damage on a turn where Brendan had to block a decent amount. So, I mean, still coming in is pretty good. Well, actually, no, it's threatening 10 damage because we have Ball Lightning still in the same chain. So it'll pump up the damage of Lightning Surge if it hits.
Yeah, because from the the damage from the cards before. So Timothy is at 7 here right now, with Patrick being at 9. But there's more to think about than just the life totals too. You've got to think about these embodiment of Earth tokens that are happening, because if he takes another hit here, that's a second embodiment token for Brendan, and then now your attacks probably are not as good next turn as well. So we're seeing a lot
100%.
we're seeing a lot of Brendan kind of understanding the tempo that's involved in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, Getting to block with your non-attacks for 4 is very nice. Is very nice, because if you look at this turn here, right, we have 2 0-cost cards coming in for a total of about 10 damage, right? With pumps. Yeah, that's fantastic. 10 damage for 2 cards that cost no resources is great. So it does look like he's going to block a little bit.
With an Evergreen here.
He's still going to take some damage here, and it's going to create that embodiment. So now Brendan can just block for 4 with his non-attacks, and we saw these cards coming in for 4. So, I mean, that's a really, really good spot to be. Being able to block with 1 card for 4 is fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to go back over to Timothy. This is a big start to a turn. This is a Bramble Spark. He is at 5 here, and this you can see why he didn't want to give up some cards from his hand here.
These are nice cards to have. Like, we have Bramble Spark into Arcanic Shockwave. We're going to have to wait to see if he fuses that. If he doesn't fuse it, it won't deal an extra point of Arcane, but it'll still deal 1 Arcane from the Bramble. Looks like he's not going to be fusing it.
It looks like a Bramble Spark is going to be blocking from Brandon's hand 4/4 here.
And then looks like he's going to... Oh, so he's going to crack his Sutcliffes here to give that go again because he did play a non-attack and an attack. And then following it up with the Rosetta for that extra 2 points of damage.
Yep, it looks like he's going to get in 4 here with the Thorn. Get a couple of embodiment of Earth, get an embodiment of Earth token from earlier. So pretty solid turn here from Timothy to get some damage in. Versus Brendan and kind of steal some of this tempo back after Brendan. All right, so it does look like we are going to be blocking the physical damage.
Very interesting
that as well.
Brendan chose to block with 2 Bramble Sparks.
Yeah, it tells you a lot about what's going on, right? Like he might not have a hand that takes enough advantage of these Bramble Sparks. So what are you thinking when you see something like that?
Yeah, when I see that, I'm like, they either have an amazing hand, right? They have an amazing hand, or they have a hand, like you said, that they can't really utilize that card, and it's just better utilized in this situation rather than taking the extra 2. Because 2, when you're at 6, is very relevant. And you don't want to get into that Briar kill zone because, anything, in my opinion, anything like 3 or less, I'm very scared. Like, very
exactly,
scared.
right? Because you're talking about the arcane damage that seems to be unpreventable in this set.
Because 3 damage is a single red, the lightning card. It's 3 damage, and it's very, very, very scary. So let's see. We have some players in the tank now. Timothy.
Yeah, I think Brendan's trying to figure out what he wants to do with the start, if he wants to make an attack or not, because he's down to just a few cards here.
How many cards does he have in hand?
So he blocked with 2, so I think he's down to 2, if I remember right. I don't think he has an arsenal here as well, or is he down to 1 with... It's kind of hard to tell. I can't see.
Not very many.
Because I think he blocked with 2 Bramble Sparks, and then I think that was it. So it does look like it is going to be just an attack for 2 here.
So his hand was non-attack, and another non-attack. That's rough. That's actually rough. I've definitely been there. And you're like, oh, if one of these would have been an attack action, it would have been so nice.
And so it seems like your read was spot on here. The reason that he's blocking with the cards the turn before that he was is I don't really have a setup to utilize these cards the way that I want to offensively, so I might as well get the most value that I can out of them defensively.
Exactly. You just got to make the best use of your cards with the hand that you're dealt. And the hand that he was dealt was not a hand that was offensive, I would say. So still, coming in for Rosetta Thorn just for 2, it's still 2 damage, right? And, just taking 2 here for Timothy puts you down into what I consider like the kill zone, that 3 or less life. And so as Timothy, you're like, I kind of still want to block this. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's like, I still want to block this. Yeah, it does feel kind of bad, but you kind of got to do it.
I'm worried at the life totals are at, 5 and 6, where any attack that gets through, I mean, you don't want to get anywhere near, like you said, 3, 2, or 1, because Arcade just comes through and kills you no matter what the actual card is. This might be a big turn here from Timothy. This is starting with a Weave Earth with an Earth. Well, I will say, it doesn't look like we were fused just yet.
So we have a Weave Earth with a, this is coming in, was this played from Arsenal? If it's played from Arsenal, it does get a bonus here.
Yeah, this is a burgeoning. If it's played from Arsenal, it gets an extra point of power. It also gets power from the Weave Earth. And it looks like there's no embodiment of Earth over on Brendan's side, too, because I think there was a full block on the Rosetta Thorn.
And so Rosetta Thorn doesn't
get it anyway, right?
Yeah, it doesn't trigger. It only triggers from attack action cards, not from weapons.
Right. So I will say this is going to be a hard turn for Brendan to block because he is at 6, and this is an attack for quite a bit more than 6 here. So he's in a hard spot here because
it's a lot of damage.
Not only do you have to worry about not dying, what are you going to do on your own turn here so you're not just on your heels the whole time?
Yeah, that's 100% true. You cannot be on the back foot at this point. You do not want to give your opponent the tempo because if you do, then you get into this like cycle of like having to block and then having to block, and you get to the point where you just kind of can't do anything.
It looks like Brendan might be taking a risk here. He's going to be blocking for 3 and going down to a very, very low life total.
Taking a chunk here, yeah.
Yeah, but that's only 1 embodiment of Earth token that was put onto Timothy's side here, and I think this is is this a really good spot for him to be taking a risk here?
Well, I guess we'll have to see. I mean, like, it really depends on his hand. So he must be pretty confident in his hand that he can come back and swing for some damage here. I mean, I think it is. I'm pretty greedy when I play. Okay, well. This is why. This is why he has a red Earthlore Surge into a Stir the Wildwood, coming in baseline 10 damage. 10 is a pretty good number. It's a pretty good number. I mean, in limited, that's what? Half your opponent's starting life. I would say that's pretty good. So, I mean, 10 when your opponent's at 5. Timothy's like, I need to block. I mean, like, I definitely need to block. And I need to block quite a bit to not die.
Oh, this is a really good block, dude. This is a sigil. So not only is this going to block a lot as a defensive reaction, that's a double sigil.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that's 2 arcane damage that Brendan's going to be taking this turn. So he's going to be going down to 1. So if there's any arcane damage behind this, Brendan might not even be able to stop it.
Brendan's like, oh, no. I've been there. I've been in his situation. You're like, I'm going to 1. This is very, very scary.
Now, he does have an embodiment of Earth Token, so he is going to be able to block pretty well. But like we said, well, that's probably going to do it here.
Okay, here we go.
Well, maybe not. Hold on.
This one's just going to be coming in for 6.
All right, this is a 6, so Brendan has 2 decent blockers in his hand. He can soak this up quite well, even if they're just 2s, because of the embodiment of Earth. But you can see it on his face here. He knows he's not in a good spot.
Yeah, but I mean, like, to be fair, like, if you're sitting in Brendan's spot, you're like, okay, like, wipe the sweat from my brow. He did not play an arcane damage card. I'm still alive for this turn. I need to survive, and I need to come back with arcane damage to close out this game because my opponent's at 2. Like,
wow, it does look like a full block with nothing behind this. So Brendan actually gets to attack.
Got some more burgeonings.
Yeah,
got some more burgeonings.
Oh no!
Oh no!
The third sigil here, like we said, not only does this block, but it does an arcane damage. And this is kind of what we've been alluding to all day long. You're seeing these games get ended by arcane damage, but that was with 3 defensive reactions, something you don't see every day. I mean, this is like a steel shunt, from Galactic Constructor, where you're getting the damage in while you're defending. I did not expect to see 3 damage get through from defensive reactions.
You either absolutely love or absolutely hate to see it, depending on where you're sitting, right? Because I know from me playing Briar, I'm like, oh, I love to see it. If I've got this card, it's so good. It's like a good, like, I gotcha. But if you're playing against it, you're like, this is the worst thing that could have happened.
Absolutely. And I know that Brendan hates to see it. He's going to move down to 2-1, but hopefully he can get the ship righted a little bit more next round. But we're not done with this round just yet. We're going to take about a 3-minute break, and we'll be back with another game. So don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss the next match of Flesh and Blood.